Welcome back to another episode of Psychocinematic. Today we are covering probably the best movie that you've never heard about, and that's called The One I Love, directed by Charlie McDowell. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out and watching this video. And as of right now, at the date that this video is coming out, you can only stream it for free on Showtime. I mean, for free, you have to pay for Showtime, but you get it. All right, quick summary of the movie. It follows Ethan and Sophie, a couple who goes to counseling, and then they get referred to a getaway that's supposed to help rehabilitate their marriage and the excitement that they have for each other. And basically once they get there, they realize that in this guest house, only when they walk in at separate times, there is a fake version of the other person that they are married to. But the caveat is that this person is like the better version of their actual significant other. So they are tending to fall in love with this person more. And that makes for an exciting story. So let's get into it. So I've already seen this movie once and I really liked it, but I wanted to watch it a second time so I could take notes and cover it on here. So the very first thing that I notice is literally the first 4 sentences in the movie is just straight up foreshadowing. Ethan is talking about how on their first date or when they got together that they snuck into someone's backyard and swam in the pool. Little did they know the owner was there. Owner came out yelling at them and chased them off the property, and it was the best day of his life. So obviously that's foreshadowing. You know, they go to a house that isn't theirs, and little do they know that they have these duplicates of them living there, and things start going south, and you know, some of them get ran off the property because they want to, and it becomes the best day of his life because A, he's got his freedom, and spoiler alert, he walks away with the fake Sophie who he actually likes more. So it's funny because when I was watching this and they were going through their therapy session, I immediately stopped and wrote down, could that piano have something to do with hypnotism? Because I'm wondering, how do they get a clone or a duplicate of this person without having some sort of DNA? Like what kind of witchcraft or whatever is this? I don't know. And they have to play that key at the same time. They say, oh, just play a key, and we'll see how synchronized you guys are. And they play it and he's like, oof. And then it cuts to him later and he plays a few keys. It's like, if you did something like this. And so I'm wondering if that is like some sort of spell that was being cast that literally needs them to, by their own will, play a key as well. And then he finishes off the rest of the spell or what have you. And now this can then happen where they get a duplicate. And that's something I don't think I even thought of the first time that I watched this movie, but immediately stood out this time. And later in this video, I'm going to get into why I think that all actually is true. So they're in therapy because it sounds like Ethan cheated, which is later confirmed in the movie. So they go to this retreat, and then when they go into the guest house, first thing Ethan is checking out is a recording studio. Immediately weird. I would be kind of like, why is this here? And what also is off-putting is that the computer is there unlocked with all these files on there. And it's also weird to me that Ethan didn't immediately snoop who doesn't have their computer go to sleep, who doesn't lock their computer. That would be a red flag for me, but I guess not for him. So Sophie finds a babushka doll, and that is packed full of symbolism, no pun intended being packed in. But I'm going to get into that after we get into more about these clones. One thing that I really love about this movie is how quick they get to the bottom of, okay, there are duplicates of us, because this movie could have easily, and I feel like other movies would have, just had them argue with each other for 30 plus minutes, and then it just drives a wedge in between the relationship that way rather than them falling in love with these duplicates. They figured it out in like under 5 minutes that basically you have to go in one at a time, and we don't know if this is some other dimension or whatever, but that was nice. There is a lot to unpack here, so let's get on with it. And so I was pumped on that. All right, the fake Ethan seriously hustles hard throughout this entire movie. You can tell he is motivated to get off of this property, and it seems like he actually does like Sophie too, but maybe that's just because he really wants to get off the property. And so, he's obviously being way more charming and flirty and all that stuff. But I thought it was funny that he closes the blinds because he knows what the real Ethan would do in that scenario, and that is snoop. I like finding the lesson in movies, and if you watched my last psychocinematic on The Rental, you got that the lesson of that movie was to not jump to conclusions. But in this movie, the lesson is to follow your fucking gut, because after they realize that there's duplicates and whatnot, they leave. They go to a nearby diner, and that was a good move. Get the hell out of there. Why would you stay? And that was their gut reaction. But then Sophie wants to go back there and talk to the duplicate and use that as some sort of therapy session. Oh, you fool. That's going to bite you in the butt later. I like that this movie plays on the fact that you could really love someone, but you could also really hate the same person, and you can love and hate someone in the same lifetime. That is what this movie is about. Like, she just doesn't like Ethan anymore, but she misses how she saw Ethan in the very beginning. She misses that honeymoon stage, which isn't fair to expect someone to stay like the way that you had them in the honeymoon period, because things are just fun and new and exciting. But when you're with someone for a long time, that takes a lot of work to keep it fun and exciting, and there's very little new things that you can do. So I like that they are playing on that with the duplicates. Another thing that Ethan should have had a red flag about was when he set up his phone to record audio in the guest house, and then the fake Sophie gives it back to him, and then he goes to play it and it's all distorted and whatnot. They're probably jamming the signal, meaning someone is probably in on it. The fact that he hasn't questioned the therapist at all yet is ridiculous. Whose house is this? He sent you there. You should be looking into him. I had to stop what I was doing to write this note and just write, bro, freaking fake Ethan hustles hard. He's texting Sophie. He's just breaking all these rules. I mean, it's not really a rule, but it's like, dang, the fake Sophie ain't texting you. This dude's motivated. So Sophie confronts the fake Ethan and asks him, why did you do it? Why did you cheat on me? And he gives a great answer, basically just owning up to it and making no excuses. And that's probably the best thing that you could do in that scenario, is just own up to what you did. And he made good points that she didn't have to stick around to try and repair the relationship. But it's really funny because right now it doesn't seem like she's trying at all. It sounds like she found a better version of Ethan and is like, see ya, Ethan. And also it's a little bad because, like, we don't know what the circumstances were that made Ethan cheat, because in this movie, Ethan seems like a pretty decent dude. Definitely he's got his shortcomings, but in comparison, these two characters in this movie, Ethan is way better than Sophie. She's basically a home wrecking. Once again, fake Ethan hustles hard. He's literally calling Ethan's mom and friends. The hairs on my neck would be standing up. I mean, I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. You have to put yourself in that situation. Imagine there was a clone of you. Why are you taking this so chill when people that you know are getting messages from you when you didn't do it? It's crazy. It was pretty smart how the real Ethan walked into the guest house same time as Sophie to pretend to be him. Definitely rapey, definitely not cool what happened. But something that really sticks out to me, the fact that he's having sex with her and he's not worried at all that the fake Ethan will come out and murder him or anything like that. Like, you're in the house that, you know, he pretty much lives in, and you don't quite know the rules of why this is all happening. Risky. I don't get it. When Ethan sees Sophie leaving the guest house and he's watching her from afar, and then she runs back into the house, I feel like at that point you should just be like, this is not worth it. She clearly is not into me. Let me leave. This is way too uncomfortable to be here. And then when Sophie says that she's not leaving, uber foreshadowing, because you're right. You're not. You're not. I wrote this note down when I was watching it, when they're doing the group dinner. They should have known that the fake Ethan was a piece of shit based on when he said, does anyone remember those old icebreakers we used to play? Like, no one likes those icebreakers at school or business meetings. Stop it with all that. I like the fact that the more that Ethan and Sophie are driven apart, the more the fake Ethan and Sophie are allowed to get out of the guest house. That is a really cool addition, because at first I was like, why can't they leave the guest house? But then all of a sudden they're allowed to have dinner in the main house. And just like, oh, what are the rules? And they explained the rules. So I appreciate that. It's not until 73 minutes of this movie have gone by that Ethan finally suspects the therapist. Gah. You're killing me, man. All right, so now the piano symbolism continued. Ethan goes snooping around in the guest house and opens up files on that computer, and he first hears them playing the piano, again saying there is a trend to what is going on. And basically they're training these people to become the new duplicates. So what all happens is the duplicates are there to make the original couple fall out of love with each other, and then the duplicates will leave together, and then the real couple will now be there to like be melted down and transformed into the next duplicates for the next couple, which is also the symbolism for the babushka dolls, because if you open up a babushka doll, it's not the same one, it's a different one, but it's still inside of it, and it's portraying the same one, babushka doll. And then the piano symbolism continued at the very end. They go to the therapist's spot, and you know, the only thing that is left in the office is the piano, which, I mean, if that's part of your hypnotism, I don't know why you wouldn't take it. But the amount of attention that they spend on it with the first shot of just looking at the piano, and then it's the only thing left in the room, they're just trying to scream at us like, hey, the piano has something to do with this. So the fake Sophie says how the fake Ethan is actually in love with the real Sophie. And when she hears it herself, you can see that that is the deciding factor for her to try and leave with the real Ethan, which is what happens, because they set up this whole thing to wear the same outfit and trick the fake Ethan, but I think she's double playing it because she wants out of there too. And it's not until she cooks Ethan breakfast the next morning of eggs and bacon, because the bacon is something that the real Sophie really hated when the real Ethan ate it. So when Ethan figures that out, you can see that he now realizes he left with the wrong one, but he doesn't seem like he cares. He seems like he's shocked, but I think a part of him is actually relieved that he walked away with the one that actually cares about him. All right, now a quick segment on the visual effects. The part where the fake Ethan is running to get off of the property and then he just hits a force field. That's when you realize that, yes, these duplicates and what all is going on here, it's some type of witchcraft. I feel like it's not just technology or anything like that. It's something supernatural that's going on. I don't know what it is, but the effect was super sick, and I think I might make a tutorial on that in the future. All right, now for a fun fact that I saw on IMDb. The director's stepdad is the therapist, Ted Danson. That's the name of the actor. And that house and guest house, that is his property. That's pretty interesting. But now I'm going to get into Rotten Tomatoes' rating versus my rating. The critics gave it 82% and the audience gave it 76%. So if you didn't believe me earlier, everyone else thinks it's a good movie too. So you should definitely check it out. And now my rating, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. I love this movie. And honestly, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. But it didn't scream 10 out of 10 to me. And I can't quite put my finger on what about it wasn't a 10 out of 10. But I feel like once I see a 10 out of 10, I'll know it. But 9.5 out of 10, it doesn't get much better than that. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment down below what you thought of the movie or what you thought of my review of the movie. And then don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.